Adgure Namah, Jagadgure Namah, Satgure Namah, Siri Gurudev Namah, Adgure Namah, Jagadgure Namah, Satgure Namah, Siri Gurudev Namah, Adgure Namah, Jagadgure Namah, Satgure Namah, Siri Gurudev Namah. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. If you don't know me, my name is Guru Fatha Singh, and I've been asked to speak today about a pre-publication paper that our friends at KRI have commissioned, and I expect we'll be seeing very soon in publication, and it's already in circulation, people talking about it. So I appreciate that before it's published, there'll be some little changes made, but the message of that paper is very clear, and I think it needs to be addressed without delay. And so I'm going to do that. So this is a funny paper. There's alchemy. Alchemy, you take something that's very worthless, you take muck and you make it into gold. That's alchemy. It's very old science. And actually it's not real muck and it's not real gold, but it's the muck within people. You take a very degenerate person and you give them a methodology and you give them a prayer and a hope, and they can become like gold. They can become fantastic. They can be a saint. There's lots of stories of people who've gone from rags to riches and people who've gone from a very lowly, sinful, we call it, very degraded state to becoming enlightened, to becoming a light of the world. And so that's a beautiful thing. But what we're finding, what's going on with the dummies, I call them now dummies, at our dear dummies at the Siri Singh Sahib Corporation, they're taking gold and trying to make it into muck. It seems to serve their purpose. So I'm challenging them on that. I don't think that's a very good project. And that's what we're about today. There's a saying that a great man, a wise man, is appreciated anywhere. A wise man should travel the world and share their wisdom, and they'll be appreciated wherever they go. Because wisdom is like that. Wisdom translates really well. Even if you can't speak the language. Guru Nanak was expert. He went to Mecca, he went to Tibet. He didn't know the languages, but he radiated and he sang and he brought a presence wherever he went. People loved him. People loved him. But we say that there's the other side of the saying is that a dummy, a fool, should stay at home. Because that's where a fool is most appreciated. Well, he's our dummy, he's our fool, and we look after him, and he kind of looks like us, he shares our genes, and we can appreciate. He's kind of cute, she's kind of cute, and we'll look after him or her. But their place isn't out, sharing their cuteness with the world. The world has enough dummies, and they don't really need another dummy out in Kazakhstan or Moscow or someplace like that. Just stay home. But in my view, the Siri Singh Sahib was one of those great people, and I'm happy. I'm grateful to have written his biography. That's one of the things I've done with my life. But here we want to take. Here's the project to take the great life of a great man. There's a word, it's called Mahapurush in Punjabi. Mahapurush means a great being. And you want to take the Mahapurush and make him a mini Purush. That's the project. And so we can ask why they want to do that. I want to focus mostly on this particular unpublished paper, pre-publication paper, the essence of it and the message of it, and critique it a little bit, maybe have a little bit of fun. and share that with you. So it starts off, chapter 1, paragraph 1, talking about scandals. You know, scandals are nothing new. There were lots of scandals about Jesus, Prophet Muhammad, Buddha. Everybody has the scandals, but typically, if you have a book about one of those great souls, they don't start off the first paragraph talking about their scandals. But this is the kind of orientation we have in this work here. They want to talk about the scandals. Doesn't matter that the bullshit report that they commissioned, the what is it, the A and Olive Branch AOB report was illegal and it was very poorly put together. That's their source document. They don't like Guru Granth Sahib so much, I don't think. It's very solid. They like bullshit reports, AOB. So it's all about scandals now. And about an immigrant, I'm reading from the text, immigrant turned yoga celebrity. Forget, I love Anga. There's a lady, Ganga Bhajan Kaur. I mean, it takes a lot to continue on this path for years and years. Ganga was good for about 10 years, and but she was brilliant, while she stayed with us. And she talked, I shared time with her, and she shared some early stories of Yogiji. And she said that she and many others felt that Yogiji was an answer to a whole generation's prayer for guidance. And he brought that guidance in many forms. He brought it in forms of teaching, but he also brought it just in terms of his presence, his integrity, his trustworthiness. Yeah. And so according to this little document, he's an immigrant turned yoga celebrity. Well, I think he's much more than that. Much. But, if you want to belittle somebody, this is an exercise. This paper that's come out is an exercise in belittlement. And the idea, seems to me, is to put him down so other people can be in the limelight. Well, here we go. And it has been written through the auspices of the Catholic University, Loyola Marymount University in Los Angeles. So we've got the author has been funding through the 3HO Foundation, which has gone through there. And we do know that at Loyola Marymount University, there's a kind of a lady. She married a non-Sikh. Sometimes that works out well. I know a guy in New York, he married a non-Sikh. He's very effusive. He writes a lot. And it's a kind of secular Sikhism. It's not like a deep meditative, inspired Sikhism. It's just a humanistic kind of Sikhism, and for what it's worth, it's very good. But I also know that he received to review, as a book review, a very holistic work. And what did he do with that? He buried it in his garden. So these folks, they have their strengths and they have their weaknesses, and I understand now that Loyola Marymount is a center for humanistic Sikhism, and very critical of the great soul, the Yogi Bhajan, this senior instructor of theological studies. She's done her own little work about the terrible atrocities committed by Yogi Bhajan, and this is her axe that she wants to grind, and she's got a colleague over there who wrote this paper, and KRI is in the know, and they're giving money for it to expand this story they want, this alternate history. So there we go. The authenticity of Yogi Bhajan's teachings are debated, and they bunch. I'm on page 2 now. He's with some discredited spiritual teachers, and he's bunched in there with these formerly trusted and beloved figures. In other words, we don't love Yogi Bhajan anymore because we're too smart for that now. We know that Yogi Bhajan was a bad person. These are really smart people, I love Guru Nanak. In his Japji, he says, "Soche soch na hoye, je sochi lakvar." You think as much as you want. You can be at university, you can be a senior lecturer, you can be chief of Kundalini Research Institute, and all that stuff. But all your thinking, all your scheming, all your cleverness, with all that, the truth can escape you. Yeah, and he died of heart failure. No, no, Yogi Bhajan never died of heart failure. He passed when his time was come. Gurbani, Guru Nanak tells us again and again that somebody at a certain level of consciousness, death doesn't rule them. They choose their own time of departure. And and I think others too, told Yogi Ji that we got his message. He's in a lot of pain. He can go. He can leave physically, and we'll manage. And we're still in touch. He's very much with us. Um, if you care to dial his number, he's there. And so that's the story. No, he didn't die of heart failure. He's very much alive. He's very well, and his heart never failed him. It never failed us. It's a very big heart. Oy, oy. There's some comparative study in this work about different yogas and this and that. And I noticed, someone who's written a couple of academic papers myself, that there's a literature review missing. Ideally, if you write an academic paper in the beginning, you talk about the other people who have already done groundwork on your subject. Missing. Maybe in the next improved version, they'll have a literature review. And nothing personal, but I've written a little bit about Yogi Bhajan. You could mention that. Oh, yeah. Visions. Yeah. Objective truth. It's a funny thing about objectivity. I think the Siri Singh Sahib Corporation likes to bank on objectivity, so they outsource work to some Buddhists in Pittsburgh to do a report, and then they outsource the healing to a fellow, Aaron and his friends. They're the healing group, and then they like to outsource this critique to that fellow who just wrote this paper. But it's the truth of quantum physics that there is no objectivity. Everything affects everything else. The quantum, the Aquarian truth is, don't seek objectivity, seek love. You'll never have an objective view. I'm a Sikh. I have my perspective. I have a certain age. I have a certain gender. I have a certain country. That colors my view, and you have your perspective, and everybody has their perspective. But what we can do is appreciate everybody else's perspective. First thing is, the Aquarian, the old view was, the Piscean view was, we have rights and they have rights, and we tolerate each other. Yeah. But the Aquarian view is to really get to know the other person and appreciate them. Appreciate them. If you can't see God in all, you can't see God at all. So appreciate them and then celebrate them. But this idea of objectivity and it has its limitations, especially when you're speaking about an inspired source, a great spiritual teacher. Your objectivity is going to fail you. You're not going to get what they're about. There's some talk about the golden chain, and there's some misunderstanding as well. The author found some old quotes of golden this, golden that, golden bridge. What they don't appreciate, the problem, if you don't speak Punjabi, if you don't really dig a little bit, is that Yogi Bhajan's first language was Punjabi. And he was having a bit of challenges sometimes in translating his words, his thoughts in the early days. So in the 1970s, when he was thinking golden bridge and golden this, actually he was thinking golden rule. You can read the quotes in this paper if you like, and you'll see the golden rule fits much better than golden chain. The golden chain came up in, I think, 1995. Yogi talked about it. And as he realized his time was moving on, that he would be leaving entrusting the teachings to us, he started to talk about authenticity. And he talked about the golden chain. And that was never a source of authority for him. And he was never the exclusive teacher of this Kundalini Yoga or the exclusive fountainhead of it. There are others, I remember I got an idea once, I thought I was inspired and I wrote you. He said, "What do you think about this meditation?" He said, no, stick with the teachings as they're given. And so I appreciated that. But I do know that David Chanahoff Khalsa had a number of meditations that he channeled through Guru Ramdas. And I think Sanatam Kaur as well had a mantra, Har Har Vaheguru Har Har Amritsar or something, that Yogiji, blessed and said, "Yeah, this is cool. This is cool." So there's not a complete monopoly. Yogiji didn't quite trust us to just be making up kriyas. That wouldn't have been a good idea. That would have been a very bad idea. But neither did he have 100% monopoly either. Sometimes when someone had a very pure inspiration, he would acknowledge that as well, of course. Oh yeah, I love this. There's a lot of just really insulting things that are said here. I don't want to repeat them here. Something I want to correct, because obviously this guy, he just showed up out of the blue and wrote this paper. But Yogi Bhajan never initiated anybody. He said the author said they never found anybody. Well, it's no wonder he didn't find anybody, because he didn't. And he made that a point. He said, "I'll never initiate anybody." He said, if somebody, wants to be initiated, they don't deserve. They're not worthy of initiation anyway. The teaching of Yogi Bhajan gave that we should initiate ourselves, each one of us. Panch Paran, Panch Pradhan, Panche Pave Darge Man, right? Those are the acceptable ones. Those who are self-initiated are the best. All right? That's what Yogi taught. This is not an initiation trip. Yeah. So not understanding and not appreciating our legacy. The author goes on about the apparent absurdity of having a Mahan Tantric, not recognizing that, well, there are many Tantrikas, we have been given a white Tantric yoga tradition. And yes, Yogi Bhajan, those students maybe in the thousands and not in the millions or in the billions, he designated himself, he described himself as the Mahan Tantric, the one living channel for those teachings. Like it, don't like it. I think he saved us a lot of pain and suffering by making that very clear. There's, I think, one or two people who tried teaching Tantric yoga, white Tantric yoga, without Yogi Bhajan. It didn't turn out so well. So I'm appreciating that. Yeah, and then Yogi Bhajan made up this mantra, and Maharaja Virsa Singh's so spiritual visions were so much better than Yogi Bhajan's. I mean, there's some really crazy stuff that's said here. Very, Yogi. I mean, I trust the Siri Singh Sahib had a vision of Guru Ramdas in 1971, and he also, unknown to the author, he had a vision of Guru Gobind Singh. Somebody should read the biography of Yogi Bhajan sometime before they write about him. Yeah, in the 1971 trip to India, he also had a vision of Guru Gobind Singh. Read it, check it out. Yeah, but according to this guy, the Virsa Singh's spiritual experiences make Yogi Bhajan look minute, really small. Fantastic. Yeah, and Guru Ramdas was just a shrewd concoction. Not insulting. Yeah, Virsa Singh's visions border on the prophetic. Oh yeah, the question is, did Yogiji study with Swami Shivananda? So having studied, listened to quite a few lectures, hundreds, of the Siri Singh Sahibs, read the transcripts. Siri Singh Sahib, Yogi Bhajan, very discreet. When he doesn't like somebody, typically doesn't name them, but if you're very attentive, you can figure out. And so, yeah, he studied with Swami Shivananda. He called him the fat Swami who swam a whole lot. You can find it in the biography. Wasn't too impressed. Yeah, according to the Siri Singh Sahib, was pretty acute on this. I mean, he knew a lot of people. He knew a lot of stuff besides his intuition. Indira Gandhi was not assassinated by her bodyguards. Check it. Yeah. Swami Shivananda, people worshipped him, but there's no comparison between worshipping a teacher and chanting their praises and doing Trataka meditation with a photo, a very special photo of the Siri Singh Sahib. It's not really comparable. Yogi always said, practice the teachings, love the teachings, don't love the teacher, never worship the teacher. Yeah, it may be that, the guy who wrote did some more research, and it may be that Yogi Bhajan never taught for Dhirendra Swami, that he was only a student of his, but he was a senior student, and that's part of the biography. Yeah, Yogi Bhajan did not write works. Yogi Bhajan spoke, Shruti, you call it. He spoke, and people made transcripts. So if a guy like this essay writer doesn't acknowledge that, his information is lacking there. No, Yogi Bhajan did not write essays and write books. He barely wrote poetry, but a lot of wisdom came through him. He did his meditation, and then people would record those, and those would be written into books. And people did not study Dhirendra's book as an acceptable source material. Most people didn't know who Dhirendra was, Swami Dhirendra. I found his book in the University of Toronto Library, but no, we didn't find out about naval careers by studying Dhirendra. So if you, the author, are watching this, take note. That's not how we studied naval. Yeah, good luck trying to untangle the Siri Singh Sahib, Yogi Bhajan's many sources of the hundreds and hundreds of kriyas. There's no ancient yoga book like that, There are some basic kriyas. We know Yogi Bhajan, in New Mexico, Lisa Law, she did a great job. She took pictures of Yogi Bhajan doing 108 poses. Those are classic yoga poses. But Yogi Bhajan only did not do asanas, poses. He gave us kriyas, not just one kriya or two. He gave us many, many kriyas. And those, there's only so many that you can bring from India. And his yoga books, they famously were lost along the way. He channeled those. He was very sensitive, and he was very intelligent, So he took the combination of his memory, his intelligence, his knowledge of anatomy, and the knowledge that he also got from the doctors who were his students, Dr. Saram and Dr. Allen. He consulted with them, in the early years and after that. And also his cute, with his capacity to see people's auras. There's a famous story. I'll tell it again, in case you didn't hear it, that Dr. Allen told me this story that in LA, he noticed that Siri Singh Sahib was congratulating ladies on their pregnancy before they knew they were pregnant. And they would say, well, I'm not pregnant. But a few weeks later, they would acknowledge. And so Dr. Allen, he asked Yogiji, what's going on? What is this? And so Yogiji would say, or he said, that everybody has an aura. Yeah. A woman, when she has a child inside of her, that aura shows up. So he would spot that aura. And he would see that before, he would see that very early on in the pregnancy. And so if he can see a child's aura in a woman's body, he could also study our auras. He talked about that sometimes, not too much, but he talked, and he gave us kriyas we could do to see auras for ourselves. But so you can imagine he's giving us an exercise, and then he's watching in real time how that exercise is affecting us, how it's affecting our psychoelectromagnetic field. And then he can make adjustments. And these kriyas, many of them have many parts. And so he gives us part one, part 2, makes an adjustment, gives us part 3. That's how I reconstruct what he did. And there's no books. This is completely original. Yeah. I think I'm getting to the end here. Yeah. Yeah. Very insulting terms. I would never call Yogi Bhajan a megalomaniac. Maybe some people at the Kundalini Research Institute have a little bit of megalomania. Not Yogi Bhajan. God bless you. So he finishes off saying, some people may never have the visions that Yogi Bhajan had. Some people may never this. Some people may never that. Very self-defeating kind of approach. Yogi Bhajan gave us these teachings, much as Guru Nanak gave his teachings to the world, so people could come to his level. And Guru Nanak was lucky. He had Angad, he had Bailena, who actually took the teachings and practiced them and did arrive at Guru Nanak's level. So we could say, this is my successor. Yogi Bhajan wasn't, he had a different legacy. There wasn't anybody that he felt could do that job. Or if there was, didn't feel that was the right thing to do. So he didn't pass the legacy on in that way. He passed it on to all of us with no successor, Mahantantric, or no successor, Siri Singh Sahib. But I'm very wary of saying, oh, we can't do this, we can't see his vision, la 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 la, because that dilutes his whole vision, that we should aspire to be 10 times greater. And why not? You would say that we have better resources than he had growing as a student. And so the finishing thing is that the author says, well, once the teachings take you across where you want to go, it's like a raft. You just leave the raft, you don't carry the raft. Heaven help you. He's basically dismissing the legacy of Yogi Bhajan, the personality, the stories, the great sacrifices of Yogi Bhajan, saying, oh, that's yesterday. We can leave that and we can be liberated and we can move on. Heaven help you. As I said at the beginning, Yogi Bhajan is still very much alive and well. I talk with him regularly. He's here. And he's here to guide us. Guru Ramdas is here to guide us. And that vision to aspire, that standard to aspire to be greater than him, is very threatening, I think, to anybody who wants to just market meatloaf yoga. It's not meatloaf yoga. It requires a very great focus and a sense of devotion, bhakti yoga. Yogi Bhajan gave us this mix of Shakti and Bhakti, great tapasya, great hard yoga, and sweet, warm, loving consciousness. If you just try and go in an analytical way and write your academic analysis of Yogi Bhajan, and then do your reductionist version of the teachings of Yogi Bhajan, and sell it piecemeal, you're missing a lot. We're not talking healthy, happy only. We're talking holy. We're talking about a magnificent being, a magnificent consciousness, a magnificent aspiration. We're talking about hooking in with the lineage of Guru Nanak, Guru Angad, Guru Amardas, Guru Ramdas, Guru Arjan Dev, Guru Hargobind, Guru Harai, Guru Hakrishan, Guru Tegh Bahadur, Guru Gobind Singh, Sri Guru Granth Sahib of Khalsa, Guru Khalsa. It's huge. It's living. You can't just package it. You can't just dismiss it, and it will not be reduced to dust and mud. It won't. So you remove the standard, you remove the sadhana. What do you get? Secular humanism, and then humanism is great. It's great to be a human being, but I love our mantra Ang Sang Vaheguru, and that's the destination Yogi Bhajan gave us. He said, our destination to go from Satnam, be yourself, be authentic, to Waheguru, which is the universal consciousness where you love everybody and you serve everybody. And that is very missing in this current iteration, they call it, this current edition of the teachings and the legacy of Yogi Bhajan. So keep your spirits up. May the long time sunshine upon you. God is great. And if we can just practice these teachings in a great way, you will experience that greatness in every molecule of your being. Thank you for taking this time with me. God bless you. Stop now.